Hello, how's it going? Welcome back to the Ultimate F1 Career Mode, and today we are talking about the 1996 Formula One season, following the end of the 1995 finale, where dramatically David Coulthard won the World Championship on countback of number of race victories. He's moved to McLaren this season. Can he keep his form up? Obviously, we are without a seat this year. We are going to be the test driver for Ligier this year. So fingers crossed we've got a seat for 1997. But today we're going to be rounding up the 1996 season with the modern twist of the modern points scoring system. So without further ado, let's get into the 1996 Formula One season. Jacques Villeneuve took pole position on his F1 debut. He led much of the race, but an oil issue late on allowed Damon Hill to catch and pass him. Hill won with Villeneuve in second. Eddie Irvine completed the podium. Gerhard Berger finished fourth on his debut for Benetton, with Mika Häkkinen in fifth. Mika Salo finished sixth for Tyrrell, with Olivier Panis in seventh. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finished in eighth, with Riccardo Rossi in ninth, and Pedro Diniz finishing in 10th. Moving on to Brazil, Damon Hill took the win once again, with Jean Alesi this time finishing in a strong second for Benetton, and Michael Schumacher getting his first podium of the season in third. Mika Häkkinen finished in fourth ahead of Mika Salo in fifth. Olivier Panis finished in an impressive sixth, with Eddie Irvine seventh for Ferrari, Pedro Diniz eighth, Ukyo Katayama getting into the points, and Pedro Lamy getting his first points for Minardi in P10. Damon Hill kept up his good race run by winning the Argentine Grand Prix in round 3. Villeneuve finished second, with Alesi following behind in third. Very strong start to the season for Williams. Rubens Barrichello was an impressive fourth for Jordan, ahead of Eddie Irvine in fifth. Jos Verstappen finished a brilliant sixth for footwork, with David Coulthard in seventh. First points of the season for the defending world champion. And then Olivier Panis finished in eighth, ahead of Johnny Herbert in ninth, and Andrea Monteremini scoring 40s, first points of the season, and meaning that all of the constructors scored points in the first 3 races. On to the European swing then at the Nürburgring, and Jacques Villeneuve, of course, got his first ever Grand Prix victory ahead of Michael Schumacher in second. David Coulthard got his first podium of the season ahead of his former teammate Damon Hill, who finished in fourth. Rubens Barrichello again impressed in fifth, with Martin Brundle getting his first points of the season in sixth position for Jordan. Johnny Herbert finished seventh for Sauber, ahead of Mika Häkkinen in eighth, Gerhard Berger in ninth, and Pedro Diniz in 10th. So after 4 races, let's see what effect that had on the World Championship. Well, Damon Hill was the early leader at the top of the standings, ahead of his teammate Jacques Villeneuve, who's made an impressive debut in Formula One. Michael Schumacher keeping track, along with Jean Alesi in third and fourth respectively. Eddie Irvine up in fifth, with Mika Häkkinen in sixth at the moment for McLaren. David Coulthard, the world champion, down in eighth, but an impressive start of the season for the Ligier and Tyrrell drivers of Panis and Salo. And into the constructors, Williams are running away with it at the moment, looking to secure another constructors title. Ferrari are just about still in the race if they can get their reliability problems under control. Benetton and McLaren very much fighting it out for third, but it is very impressive that all constructors have scored so far this season. Ligier currently the ones benefiting the most from that. They're up in sixth. Tyrrell are ahead of Sauber, and Footwork are keeping very, very close tabs to them. Back to the action then, and the San Marino Grand Prix, where Damon Hill once again won in the Williams. Michael Schumacher and Gerhard Berger rounded out the podium to run him close. Eddie Irvine finished his best result of the season so far in fourth place for Ferrari, other than his podium in Australia after a few reliability issues for him. in the last few races. Rubens Barrichello continued his strong form in 5th place ahead of Jean Alesi in 6th. Pedro Diniz' strong start of the season continued in 7th ahead of Mika Hakkinen in 8th, Pedro Lamy in 9th and Luca Badoa in the top 10. We then had the most crazy race of the season in Monaco, a very wet Monaco Grand Prix, and only 3 actual finishers over the line, but the top 10 was as follows. Olivier Panis getting victory for Ligier in Monaco. Quite unbelievable from him. David Coulthard, the world champion, finished in 2nd for McLaren, and Johnny Herbert gets on the podium for Sauber, perhaps justifying the decision to get him over Joe Hannard for this year. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finished 4th for Sauber in what was a very, very strong weekend for the Swiss outfit. Mika Salo finished in 5th ahead of Mika Hakkinen in 6th. Eddie Irvine finished in 7th ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in 8th. Even though he wasn't classified, how crucial could that be come the end of the season? Luca Badoa gets 2 points for 9th, and Jean Alesi rounds out the top 10. On to Spain then, and Michael Schumacher took his first victory of the season in Barcelona. He managed to take the top step of the podium for the first time for Ferrari. Jean Alesi finished in 2nd for Benetton, and Jacques Villeneuve rounded out the podium. Again, there were several drivers that didn't finish this race, and in fact only 6 managed to get to the checkered flag, meaning that some points were handed out to guys that didn't even get to the checkered flag. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finished 4th once again, Mika Hakkinen in 5th, with Pedro Diniz continuing his strong start of the season in 6th place. Jos Verstappen gets 6 points for 7th, with Rubens Barrichello in 8th, Gerhard Berger 9th, and Johnny Herbert rounds out the top 10. Damon Hill was back in the winner's enclosure in Canada, and Villeneuve and Alesi continued to complete the podium. Very, very consistent starts for both of them at the start of this 1996 season. David Coulthard finished in 4th ahead of Mika Hakkinen in 5th. Martin Brundle finished in 6th ahead of Johnny Herbert in 7th, and Giancarlo Fisichella getting his first ever points in 8th place. But once again, not 10 finishes, so we had to give out some points to Pedro Lamy in 9th and Luca Badoa in 10th. So the standings after 8 Grand Prix this season continued with Damon Hill at the top of the standings. Jacques Villeneuve keeping track of him in 2nd place, and Michael Schumacher and Jean Alesi now a million miles away if they put a run together in the second half of the season. It's all very bunched from 5th to 10th, but some impressive starts to the season from the likes of Rubens Barrichello and Gerhard Berger, meaning that they can possibly get into the top 5 come the end of the season with some strong results. Into the constructors, Williams are absolutely running away with it. Ferrari, McLaren and Benetton are locked in a battle for 2nd, but it's a huge battle for 5th between Ligier, Sauber and Jordan Grand Prix. Tyrrell are looking fairly safe in 8th, but Footwork and Minardi could well fight it out for 9th. On to Manicourt then in France, and it was another victory for Damon Hill. An incredible run of form for Williams so far this season. Villeneuve and Alesi once again join him on the podium, with Gerhard Berger in 4th. Mika Hakkinen finished 5th, with David Coulthard in 6th. Panis finished in 7th. Martin Brundle in the points in 8th, with Rubens Barrichello 9th and Mika Salo in 10th. All eyes were on Damon Hill going into the British Grand Prix, but he couldn't win it in the end. It was Jacques Villeneuve who got back onto the top step of the podium, with Gerhard Berger getting his first podium of the season in 2nd, and Mika Hakkinen rounding out the top 3. A very good weekend for him. Rubens Barrichello finished in 4th ahead of world champion David Coulthard in 5th. Martin Brundle finished 6th at his home Grand Prix ahead of Mika Salo in 7th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 8th, Johnny Herbert 9th, and it was Jos Verstappen who rounded out the top 10. Round 11 of the season went to Damon Hill, who once again finished ahead of Alesi and Jacques Villeneuve to round out the top 3. Michael Schumacher finished in 4th after a complete streak of non-reliability and non-finishes, meaning that he's dropped out of the championship picture. David Coulthard finished in 5th ahead of Rubens Barrichello in 6th, Olivier Panis in 7th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen 8th, Mika Salo 9th and Martin Brundle rounding out the top 10. And the three-quarter mark of the season was met with another victory for Jacques Villeneuve's Williams. Damon Hill finished in 2nd, with Jean Alesi once again behind in 3rd. Mika Häkkinen finished in 4th ahead of Panis in 5th. Barrichello finished in 6th, with Katayama's best result of the season in 7th. Riccardo Rossi finished in 8th. Michael Schumacher salvaged some points in 9th. And Giovanni Lavaggi got his first points for Minardi in 10th. So Damon Hill was still leading the way at the top of the standings, but just 24 points ahead of his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. Jean Alesi is very much securing 3rd in the championship at the moment, and Michael Schumacher all the way down in 5th. World champion David Coulthard certainly doesn't look like he's going to be defending his title this year, and he'll be looking to just get a little bit closer to his teammate between now and the end of the season. Gerhard Berger moves above Eddie Irvine up into 9th and will be looking to move a little bit further up, possibly into 7th. Into the constructors then, and Williams are still absolutely dominating at the top. More than double the points of 2nd place Ferrari, who were battling it out with McLaren and Benetton for 2nd. Jordan have popped up into 5th after a strong run of results. Ligier 6th despite winning a race this season. Sauber in 7th, Tyrrell 8th, Footwork 9th and Minardi rounding out the top 10. On to Belgium then, and it was Michael Schumacher once again who got onto the top step of the podium at Spa. Villeneuve and Häkkinen were the ones that joined him on the podium. Jean Alesi finished 4th in a rare non-appearance on the podium for him this season. Damon Hill finished in 5th ahead of Gerhard Berger in 6th. Mika Salo finished in 7th with Katayama 8th, Rossi in 9th and Pedro Lamy rounded out the top 10. Schumacher again won in front of the Tifosi this time at the Italian Grand Prix. 2 race victories in a row for Michael Schumacher at a time when he desperately needs it. Can he get his World Championship back on track? It's looking unlikely. Jean Alesi back on the podium in 2nd ahead of Mika Häkkinen in 3rd. Martin Brundle's best performance of the season saw him in 4th ahead of Rubens Barrichello in 5th and Pedro Diniz in 6th. Jacques Villeneuve finished a disappointing 7th with Jos Verstappen in 8th, Herbert 9th and Katayama in 10th. Damon Hill did not score. Round 15 saw the boys go to Portugal and Estoril, and it was Jacques Villeneuve who took the championship to the final round by winning ahead of his teammate Damon Hill in 2nd. Michael Schumacher rounded out the podium in 3rd ahead of Jean Alesi in 4th. Eddie Irvine finished in 5th ahead of Gerhard Berger in 6th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finished in 7th. Johnny Herbert in 8th. Martin Brundle in 9th. And Olivier Panis rounded out the top 10. So going into the final round of the season then, there's just 3 points separating Damon Hill and the F1 rookie Jacques Villeneuve in 2nd. Alesi and Schumacher battling it out for 3rd, and it looks like David Coulthard could come under pressure from Gerhard Berger for 6th place. Rubens Barrichello looks secure in 8th, and Panis and Eddie Irvine will battle it out for 9th. Into the constructors then, and Williams have very much dominated this season. They are constructors champions. Benetton, Ferrari and McLaren are still all possibly in the battle for 2nd place, although it's looking very likely that's going to be Benetton that come out on top. Ligier looking very good for 6th place. Sauber are looking good for 7th, and there shouldn't be too many changes in the rest of the top 10. So the championship finale started with Jacques Villeneuve on pole position, but it was Damon Hill that managed to cross the finish line in 1st place, and he closed the season with a win in Japan. Jacques Villeneuve unfortunately retired from the race, meaning he couldn't win the championship in his rookie season. He'll be back again next year in 1997 looking to seal the deal. Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen completed the podium for the final race of the season. Gerhard Berger finished in 4th for Benetton with Martin Brundle in an impressive 5th for Jordan. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finished 6th for Sauber ahead of Panis, Coulthard, Barrichello and Johnny Herbert rounded out the top 10. So let's confirm what has happened in the 1996 season with the stand-ins. Well, it was Damon Hill that was the eventual world champion, and he gets his first ever world championship trophy ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in second after an impressive debut season. Michael Schumacher finishes third, which was quite impressive considering the reliability of that Ferrari. Jean Alesi finishes fourth in the end, very, very consistent for Benetton, but just misses out because of a lack of victories. Hakkinen finishes 5th ahead of Gerhard, Berger in 6th, Coulthard 7th, Barrichello 8th, Panis 9th. Into the Constructors, Williams once again win the Constructors' Championship ahead of a very impressive Benetton in 2nd, holding off Ferrari in 3rd. McLaren finish in a comfortable 4th ahead of Jordan in 5th, Ligier in 6th, Sauber in 7th, Tyrrell in 8th, Footwork in 9th and Minardi in 10th. So our all-time ranking looks like this. Damon Hill leading the way at the moment ahead of the other two world champions in the grid. Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard. At the moment, Jacques Villeneuve has made the biggest move into 7th place. On to page 2, and we're still hanging in there despite a year out, and still, funnily enough, ahead of our former teammates Heinz, Harold Frentzen. Martin Brundle gets himself up to 14th there, and Jos Verstappen holding on to a top 20 place. And page 3 still has the great Nigel Mansell on there. Giancarlo Fisichella, perhaps going to be the man making big moves over the next few years. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. That was our 1996 season roundup, and we will be back next time out with the all-important 1997 driver reveal. We will be discussing where we will be driving next season. Of course, we've had a test driver role with Ligier this season, so we're looking to maybe turn that into a race seat next season. Will there be any other shock moves? We'll find out on Friday when we do the big driver lineup for 1997 reveal. I'll see you then. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.